and young and right and handsome and athletic and powerful and intelligent, right? That's what I want to. That's the world I want to live in. So there's maybe some benefits to this, right? Also, maybe we need that escape. We're emotional and intellectual beings, so maybe we need this ability to kind of escape from Meatspace in order to recharge our batteries, so to speak, right? We need an outlet, a valve to go. I get home from a hard day of work. The first thing I want to do is just have a beer and turn on the television, right? And turn my mind off, right? That's exactly why I watch television, right? To turn my mind off, not to think about it anymore. And so maybe that's a valuable thing. Also, another thing that this allows is what we might call the dematerialization of the commodity. Okay, so that is, other commodities like table. There's only so many tables we can make. There's only so many trees. There's only so much metal in the world. Eventually, right, in Meatspace, we're going to run out of resources. Right? There's limits to it. But there's no limit to fantasizing. There's no limit to virtual worlds. Right? There's no limit to daydreaming. Especially as our computer chips get smaller and smaller and smaller and can hold more and more and more. Right? So on something the size of your fingertip, we can hold thousands of fantasies, thousands of virtual worlds that you can go and inhabit, right? So maybe this is another utopian kind of way to look at it, right? Is we can grow forever. Economic growth can continue. There are no resource limits in the virtual world. There are no limits. We'll never get sick of it. We always keep going back again, right? And so that's great for the economy. It's great for the environment. And it's, why we call it post-human is we're building a better human, right? We're building kind of a cyborg human, one that can use their technological extension to make their lives better, right? To make our economy better, to make our lives better, to provide us that way of daydreaming and fantasizing that we really need.
Do you think that kind of our dependence on media and technology kind of perpetuates itself? Like when we go to work, or when we go to school, we use media and we use technology all the time. We're always thinking, we do way more now than we did before. Our minds are always working. Yeah. And like you said, when you go home, you just want to turn your mind off. Your mind's working all the time because you have meetings and phone calls and emails.
Right. And turn off your cell phone too, right? Yeah. Like that's a big, in cell phone studies, a lot of people talk about, employees now, especially like people that have careers, contracts, jobs, that they feel like they're never off of work because of their cell phone.
Yeah.
Right? The boss can call it any time, and that kind of thing. So, right, yeah, maybe we need that escape from those things. And I think you're right. Technology certainly feeds on itself as we kind of get used to those things and they creep into our everyday lives. Okay, so remember this critical perspective that we're talking about. One of the things that we talk about is the way that it changes time, or at least our perceptions of, and sometimes the actual shape of time and space, right? And so that was the example why I was wanting to do this as an example of, right, these technologies create this new form of space, this virtual space, that probably existed before in the forms of dreams and daydreams and fantasies and such. But give it a new outlet, right? And the internet blows it up, right? Now we've got so much virtual space and so many new fantasies that we can engage in, and so many new daydreams that we can engage in. And it's different, and it has very different characteristics from what people used to call real space, right? Meatspace is what people used to call real space. But they kind of stopped using that term real space, right? Because virtual spaces are just as real. Right? Especially when we see them, when they start to get materialized on, the computer screen, right? Second Life is real. As much as we might hate it or mock it or whatever, it exists. You can go to it every day, and it's going to be very similar, right? Warcraft is real, right? So it's not real space versus virtual space. It's Meatspace, the here and now, right? The immediately present, the things that my cat cares about, versus virtual space, the space of fantasies, the space of daydreams, the space of movies, the space of internet sites, et cetera, et cetera. So I wanted to, if you have some questions, I'm gonna write those down, and we'll have for next class, after we do the defining thing, we'll kind of vote on the best question and talk about it for the second half of the class. So, anybody have any of those you wanted to ask? Yeah.
Honest and internet is honest to learn more and learn faster. Like in forums and blogs, you can learn stuff that you didn't know before. Like peer-to-peer.
Okay, good. Okay.
Could we live without the internet now to grow certain activity?
Maybe are we a big
Do you mean like some things are structured too, like how companies and stuff?
Yeah, I mean like everything, like if we just ourselves, and you know, like we don't have the internet, and everyone's freaked out, like, that would be really good.
Yeah. It certainly would cripple, you know, if the internet, and if all the major networks went down, it would cripple the economy pretty quickly. Yeah. Can we live with that? Okay.
Do you think that the internet has devalued, I guess, higher education because you don't have to do as much research with, you know, books and like hard stuff, you just go on the internet and find it?
Cool. Yeah, or just changed it some, right? Like I mentioned Wikipedia last class about the way that, you know, in the past, knowledge was somebody that had credentials, had a degree, right? Wikipedia is kind of like,
Anybody that
right, you know, they don't have to have a degree. Maybe they just know a lot about the subject, so it's changed.
maybe a lot was from Glenn, he did research about it, and he said no Wikipedia, and I was like, Dr. Jenkins is having us do Wikipedia stuff. It's reliable.
But I told you, find the original source. Yeah.
How does the internet affect everything the male and female perspective?
The girl has, yeah, the girl has the same.
How does the internet compromise our privacy, or how does it endanger our privacy?
Okay. Certainly, something that a lot of people are worried about. Horace?
Has the internet brought a shift to religious values?
Why? What's your hunch about that?
I don't know. Just the,
Well,
like you said, the fantasy world and the kind of Meatspace versus, I don't know. I know I can't really put it into words right now.
this ability to create a world like Second Life, you know, from
Like
nothing.
worshiping the internet versus worshiping technology and the internet versus.
And knowledge being everywhere, right? Like, the internet is omnipotent in a sense.
It's like the ultimate truth.
It's kind of like God. I'd say, Mark,
Two questions, but I don't know if they've already been tied on. Does the internet increase learning and make it faster? Mine was the fact that the internet increases our access to knowledge. Why is literacy percentages of population still declining?
Okay, yeah, that's kind of a sub question. But why is literacy still? Yeah, and I asked that same question about, you know, in the lecture the other day about if television kills literacy, is the internet kind of bringing it back? Right. It seems like most of what you do on the internet is reading, except for the last couple of years with YouTube and Hulu, and so TV's starting to call that the internet. Yeah.
Something I was actually talking to my husband about was, does the internet, the question was,